Okay, this is Boxing Day. It's the day after Christmas. I've come into my favourite local store and I'm going to see what Thomas stuff is left behind post-Christmas. And I've got to crawl right down to the bottom of the cell to see the Thomas glory. Starting at the bottom shelf, a lot of stock has been sold here. Obviously there's empty space there, $0 from that. There's only one of these sets here left, which is curious because there was quite a few of these here before Christmas. And there's only 3 of the wonderful Percy 6-in-1 set. That's the new version of that set, but I still say it's a buy. I'll just reset the store. What I will do is face that forward. At least it takes up a bit of the shelf space, doesn't look so vacant like that. We'll come up and we will count the Percys next. My prediction that Percys would sell out before Christmas has not happened. Percy is a shelf sitter, dust collector. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 Percys left. I can't remember the number of Percys that was here. Maybe I have to put up a title here. It's what was here just prior to Christmas. So maybe you've seen what that number is. I should have done my research. Someone said to me that one of the 6s was lagging on a Percy here. I'm just going to quickly go through and take a look at each one. And if it is laying low, well, it becomes a factory error, doesn't it? But I think I've seen improvements in these toys. They've been making them a little bit more better. They're looking all okay to me. Okay, no. Back one here. All looks fine to me. The 6s are in the right spot. I've got a Percy train wreck here I'm going to have to fix up. I've also got someone watching me and they're probably thinking, what the hell is that man-child playing with the Percy's phone? And now he's making a strange voice. But hey, I've done so many silly things in the store over the years. I'm quite immune to it. And I'm just getting these back nice and straight. I'd love to work in one of these shops and just look after, I suppose, the Thomas stock, eh? That's what I seem to always be doing, and I've got one more to squeeze in, and to make it easy, I'll just squeeze it in the front here. Okay, the Percys are all back in line. I've almost forgot to point out, there's actually another Thomas toy here, and I don't know where these appeared from. There's 3 of these, and these are things that just seem to be hanging around forever. It's the, I don't know, RC Thomas. It doesn't excite me. To me, it's basically missing a wheel, or 2 wheels, if you want to be technical. But no, that's a no Thomas for me. That's the Thomas stock post-Christmas in the bottom third of that cell, which is part of the shelving system here in this toy store. My favourite retailer, and as I crawl upwards, you can see the other glory that's here. And it looks like Bluey's Beach House is still here. But I think a few of those sold, but hey, there's still a few here. I know you're probably saying, what about that Hot Wheels stock? It has been refreshed. It's maximum fill here. A lot of 5-packs, way more 5-packs than I've ever seen here before in my life. The single car packs are here, and it's really packed out. There's actually stuff overflowing off the pegs. It wasn't like this before Christmas, I can tell you that, for many weeks. It was empty pegs. But look what snuck in at the top there. My God, metal machines. Mattel's going to have a frippin' heart attack. I suppose I can say you can make a stack of money when your pegs are full, but you need the stock before Christmas or it doesn't quite work out, does it? There's actually a Hot Wheels here, one that I noticed that disappears and people tend to hunt for. And you'll probably be saying, oh, come on, Leo, you're pulling my leg, aren't you? You could be freaking joking. Anything freaking Barbie movie. Although I think that's one of the least popular ones. The pink car is very, very popular. And if you get the Ken car, in fact, there's another Barbie thing here. If you can find that Ken car, which sort of gives the movie away, without saying, oh, it's another blue one. Yeah, I put these back on the pegs, actually. Let other people enjoy the Barbie goodness, and one just went to the floor. That's the one that dropped to the ground. I will repeg that. I'm not a store wrecker, I'm a store builder. And you have to think outside the square. The Barbie movie cars, that's a massive movie, going right to the top, and I think this is very worthwhile as an under the bed investment. And to appease the YouTube bots, shit, we've just had a talk about toy investment. YouTube, frippin' fancy that. As humans, we tend to forget how rapidly things change. I'm going to wind back time only 2 years back to February 2022, and we're going to take a look at the video that I shot of Thomas and Friends stock that came in after Christmas because there was global shipping shenanigans going on because of things that we can't talk about on YouTube. And from what we understand now, looking at what was on the shelves only 2 years ago, we can say, wow, that was the classic Thomas and Friends toys. It was after this shipment of toys, that's when the new Thomas All Engines Go stock started to appear in the retailers where I look at toys. There's some stock lines there that I can see from just 2 years ago, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, why didn't I pick more of that stuff up? I could have become a billionaire selling this stuff on eBay. If I now go forward 2 years, back to 2024, and I take a look in that store which had an abundance of what I call the classic Thomas toys that we've just seen, look what's available now. This is post-Christmas. Sure, a lot of the stock has been gnawed away and sold, that's a good thing, but no stock has come back in to replenish the shelves, and what's there is very lackluster. In fact, the toy sale in this store as well is very small. Another peculiar conundrum that's going on is the shopping mall where I go, where there's multiple shops. There used to be 5 shops that had Thomas and Friends toys. In 2024, there's now only 2 stores. And those 2 stores are actually one, but I'll explain that soon. The Thomas toys that used to be in the supermarkets all of a sudden was no longer there. What used to be there was the metal engine type Thomas toys, the little toy that would sell for between $5 to $7. It seems the advent of Thomas All Engines Go has changed the dynamic and the footprint of where you can find Thomas toys. That's what I notice in my local stores, and I do miss seeing the Thomas toys within the toy cell within the supermarkets. Let's hope it comes back. A local shopping mall has 2 major anchor stores. One of them's Kmart, the other one is Target. They play out as different retailers, but really they're owned by the same root company. Now, the strangest thing has happened in Australia. They're now stocking Kmart's Anko home brand goods within Target. So all of the brand name goods have been stripped out of Target. And when you go to a Target, you get a Kmart experience. And to me, it's the strangest move in retailing that I've seen in my entire life. It makes absolutely no sense. This strange change has a negative effect on all the other retailers within the shopping mall because all of a sudden 2 of your major anchor stores are basically the same. I'll now go back to my favourite retailer where I was doing the study of the Thomas stock post-Christmas, counting Percy's. It's now the 14th of January at my favourite retailer. I was studying the Thomas cell in here prior to Christmas. Let's take a look and see what's left. Down the bottom level here, Bluey's beach house has somehow come down the bottom. All the Thomas playsets have gone. I'm just letting you see what's here. There's nothing hidden away there. Going up to the next level, those RC Thomases, the ones with the wacko missing wheel, it looks like they've all gone. I'm quite surprised about that because they were real shelf sitters. There's still a number of Percys here. Let's count them. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Percys left. So as it stands post-Christmas, and we're into 2024 now, the only Thomas item here is the motorised AEG Percy. What a great choice, eh? Yes, I suppose if we wait long enough, even they will sell. I'll just slowly crawl up here with the camera set to wide, and you can see the cell here. The bottom third used to be the Thomas stock. We've only got a few Percys left. Maybe that's a good sign. It's saying to us Thomas and Friends stuff is selling, but there's no stock coming in behind what has been sold. And as we crawl up, we're seeing Paw Patrol, we're seeing Bluey, and those Bluey beach sets, which look pretty awesome, are still here, but there's not many of them left. Okay, this is going to blow your mind. I'm in my favourite retailer where I was doing the Thomas stock. They've moved everything around. This aisle is, well, a couple of aisles away from where the Thomas stock used to be. It's all been flipped around as well. I'm not sure why they do these radical changes. And now the Thomas section is up the other end of the aisle. Okay, and we're going to see what of those Percys are left behind that never sold after Christmas. Coming in for the Percy count, the music is blasting in here today. So, okay, 1 Percy at the front here, 2 Percy, 3 Percy, 4 Percy. Is there one behind that one? No. Yay, 4 Percy. They're still here, but there's not much else here. I will put all those Percys back where they were, nicely lined up. nicely to the front. We like everything squared off and we like everything neat and tidy. Just below the Percy, it looks like there's only 2 of these playsets here. So a lot of these playsets actually sold out prior to Christmas and also a little bit after Christmas. Okay, I hope I'm right in remembering that. So yeah, just 2 of those here, nice and square to the shelf, neat and tidy as always. And talking adult retail talk here, well, Percy's basically at head height. There's a screaming baby behind me. That other playset below Percy is at chest height, and the cell, if it was well stocked, well, it would be amazing, but I'm just going down to the floor. That's Thomas used to be sort of down there, but in a different aisle. Okay, remember, he used to take up the bottom third of a cell. It looks like he's now going to reside in the middle of a cell. And if I go up here, we can just see if there's any more Thomas stock going up to the ceiling there. No, it's like situation normal. Empty shelves abound. Ah, yes, I've seen this plenty of times before. It's no surprise to me, and always remember my mantra about empty shelves. With that child screaming its lungs out in the background, you cannot make a cent from an empty shelf. And that also applies to, guess what? An empty peg. Sorry about the grubby hands. I've had to get a real world job because, well, these days YouTube just doesn't cut it. Remember earlier in the video I spoke about a local shopping mall and how 2 of the major anchor stores have essentially become one. And I'm hoping you understand the negative impacts when you have 2 anchor stores which are essentially the same. For me to get a very different Thomas & Friends purchasing experience, I need to travel half an hour from where I live and go to a store called Big W. Curiously, this Big W has had a toy area shake up. The Thomas & Friends area is now in a different aisle. It's at a different end of an aisle. It's also a larger area versus what it had before. The Thomas & Friends stock lines that I see in Big W are slightly different versus what I would see in Target and very different versus what I would see in Kmart. And historically, so often I've gone to a Big W to source the more interesting Thomas & Friends toys when I needed to grab some. And I'm hoping by the pictures that I'm showing here lets you see why I was going to Big W to pick up those different Thomas toys. I'm in this Big W, I'll just call it the first week of February 2024, and of course, what a lot of people in the Hornsby area would love to see is a Big W come to Hornsby Westfield and get rid of that rubbish Target store. If only we had a Big W in Hornsby, and it would suit the area because there is actually a large vacuum of area where there's no Big W stores on the North Shore of Sydney. Anyway, thinking about the stock that I'm looking at inside Big W at Macquarie Centre, what is very curious is this store used to have the Thomas & Friends stock adhered to the Bluey stock. It used to be side by side and was like that for a long time. Now all of a sudden Bluey is right up one end of the aisle and right down the other end is Thomas & Friends. People far smarter than you and I have made these changes. It's going to be very interesting to see what plays out in the future. Okay, we're going to finish on the final 2 times I go to my local favourite Kmart to see if we get to 0 Percys. I'll put this right up the end of this video. It's almost semi-comical. It's the new revised Thomas area in my favourite retailer, and they've spread out the stock to make it look like there's lots of Thomas stock here. Okay, yeah, wow. We're having a lot of fun here, aren't we? So what we've got left in the middle of February 2024 is 1 Percy, 2 Percy, and if I reach across, 3 Bankin' Percy. And if you're wondering whether this section of the store where the Thomas stock is has been restocked and there's a proper Thomas & Friends cell of toys, well, that's what's here. Looks impressive, doesn't it? Just stunning. Yes, Percy's very important. Percy's holding the Thomas & Friends empire together here. As I've said before, Percy for the win. I've got another update, and this will be the final one, please believe me. 21st of February 2024, and in the Thomas area now we're only down to 2 Percys. So 1 sold in the last week. Okay, 1 Crankin' Percy there, nothing behind, and there's a Percy there with nothing behind. If I take a look at the Thomas cell here, always putting back things neat and straight and tidy, you'll see what's here. Well, basically, well, there's those RC Thomases up there which don't have enough wheels, and if I track down to the bottom here, you'll see what else is here, which is sort of amazing. And there's actually another thing I need to point out, which I think is very interesting. What I think is very interesting, and I think it's very important to point out, is around the Thomas area is the Spider-Man stuff. Spider-Man has been eternally popular. Spider-Man was popular even back when I was a kid, and that was a very, very long time ago. We won't even talk about the years. But seeing for the fact that Spidey is going to be near Thomas whenever Thomas comes back in the store is very interesting. And as I've seen in other retailers, if I walk up to the other end of this aisle, and I think this is very interesting as well, is Bluey now has its own cell, and the cell goes right up to the ceiling there, or the top shelf. And as I track back down here, you'll see all the Bluey stuff that's here for sale. And noticing, very importantly, there's stock in store, unlike the Thomas stuff. So yeah, I called Bluey as being a big thing years ago, many years back now, and boy oh boy was I right. You know, back in the day, I would have certainly reviewed a toy like this. I noticed it's made by Moose Toys. I certainly know the Moose Toy Company. But to review something like this these days on YouTube, well, it would be very, very dangerous to do. In fact, it would be akin to committing channel suicide. That's the way YouTube seems to be bent these days. It's sad, really sad.